All right then. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Josh. This is a special episode of Dead Men Streaming. And for a lot of you, you're seeing a future version of Imini Bay. The last video you guys caught from me was, I think, episode, 16, 17. And I haven't posted anything in a week with a very good reason. My following two videos had no sound, and I haven't had a chance to do anything to address that. But in the meantime, today is now my time. It is June 13th, 2025, and we've had the Bridges and Piers patch land. So, in addition to the fact that this is way out in the future, like by, I don't know, 14-ish episodes from probably what you guys saw last, or give or take. I don't know. Math is hard. Um, you're seeing a much expanded M&I Bay, and you're going to see a couple of things that we're doing today to address the Bridges and Piers we wish was Bridges and Piers update patch. So on the 11th, City Skylines 2 received a brand new patch that added a bunch of brand new functionality, and by bunch I mean a little bit, that adds a couple of things in advance of the Bridges and Piers DLC coming out, hopefully sometime this year. I hope it's now been announced for Q4, I think Q3, Q4. Q4 technically starts in September. So, I actually had to play this out for a while because they did patch a couple of things. Now, the good news is that most of the patch is pretty good. The bad news is that your offices have an old bug that has been reintroduced to them, and it is very likely that you will see your employee levels trickle down from maximum employment, somewhere like 97, to the bare minimum. Well, more than 97, depending, to the bare minimum based off of if their goods are being consumed, what they're generating is being used or not. If it's not, layoffs start to hit and people start to get unemployed. It's kind of realistic, but it'll take a building the size of this with 260 employees and knock it down to like five. For me, this is a city killer style bug because I build office cities. And I don't know how that's going to affect what I do going forward. They also addressed the crime rate a little bit, so we have that going for us. Neat, even though we have like a 0% crime rate. And the thing that caught me up more than anything is that they actually fixed cargo ports and cargo train terminals. Um, they are now actually pulling in, requesting, and then distributing cargo, which is a sizable difference from what they were doing before, which was basically not that. Now, why did this become a problem? Well, I want you guys to look at this. So, all of a sudden, every cargo port and every cargo train station I had suddenly put out resource calls to everything. And suddenly, all the commercial buildings and all the office buildings were like, we need stuff. And the train stations were like, we can provide stuff. And others were like, we have stuff. And the train stations were like, we can send you stuff. And so, yeah. Yeah, I ended up with a traffic nightmare and an absolute half. I ended up doing what I probably should have done to start with, and that was remapping our road network around here so that while we had people coming down this 8 lane, now they were forced to take a 1 lane or 1 way 4 lane road down here, and anything coming in from this side was being forced to take a 1 way 2 lane road through here with an exit point down here and an extra ingress coming up through here. Um, we still ended up with the traffic jam and a half. It still slowed things down. We lived and we lived through it. And I had a similar situation develop at every other cargo rail station that I have laid out. You can see we still have a traffic mess over here at this one. Although, given this one's location, there's a lot less I can do about it. Thankfully, it's not as popular. But you can see just how much traffic it's suddenly getting. This is the traffic levels that we had in CS1, and I thought it was just simply fixed in CS2. No, not fixed, broken. So we'll go with that. Cargo harbors, same exact issue. Not weirdly enough, not as pronounced, but they were a little glitchy. So all of these lovely cargo ships bringing in, 730 plus tons of cargo to one location or another, and that actually spawns a ton of vehicles. Hard to imagine that actually spawning a ton of vehicles as people are picking up their cargo, but hey, what do I know? That's the major tweak that we got is the fix for cargo. That is the thing that's going to affect your city the most on a function level because it will affect your traffic. So let's talk about the things that they did put in that weren't that. And to highlight this, we're going to start with two different bridge setups. And you're looking at these going, Josh, what? So here's the first one. We have a rail bridge. It's gorgeous. It's pretty. It looks really nice on that sunset lighting. Um, but it is what it is. It is a standard 2-lane trussed rail bridge. And it is beautiful. And it does not do the one thing that we need a rail bridge to do, and that is at any elevation that we can set it at, whether it's 210 or 200, will not cross a sea lane at all. Again, still. So, because it won't cross the sea lane, there's not a whole lot of use that I have for a bridge of this size. Now, that's not saying that I wouldn't use it on some other maps. I just don't see a need to use it on this one. Um, like, I guess I could run an adjacent cargo line from here, maybe. Let's bring down our height, fiddle with the edges of this, but, because this map and Bridges and I don't get along. Honestly, though, to be completely honest with you, uh, I have mentioned more than one occasion that I live in West Virginia. If you're just catching this stream, you may not know that. So, um, hill crossing bridges like this are not uncommon for highways, for trains, for just about anything. So, I can see me using this a lot in mountainous terrain. I may actually come back and use it in some of the mountainous terrain that I've developed around for the far east side of Imini Bay here. So to me, it's a beautiful bridge. It's a lot better. Like there's no comparison to the betterness it is versus the standard bridge. Come on. Like that's our only other rail bridge option right now. So we finally have a rail bridge, and I'm happy about that. But we didn't just get one rail bridge, we got two. But the other one is just, to me, it's weird. I have driven on one of these before. Well, similar, not quite like this, up in Pennsylvania. And cool experience, terrifying for me. Little country roads, pumpkin boy over here. And this is a interesting asset. And it's interesting because I haven't quite figured out how to get it to work. So meet this glorious thing. You can find this bridge under the highways. Come over here, come down the 4-lane highway, double train track, double decked, extra dosed bridge. I'm not saying that on the beat, to quote the stipendium. And first of all, the asset itself, gorgeous. Like, just look at these pylons. Like, StarCraft wants its pylons back. These are awesome, and I love them. But let's take a look at the actual functionality. Top layer is what it is. It is a 2-lane, 4-lane highway. This, you know, um, we don't have any 2-lane, 4-lane, or sorry, we don't have any 4-lane 2 ways. We've got a 2-lane 1 way, or a 2-lane 2. We have a 2-lane 2-way highway, and we've got a bunch of bridges that are 3, 4, and 5-way highways. And then if you bought the expansion when it came out, the Founders Pack, whatever they called it, the We Promise to Give You Assets Pack, we've got the 8 lane Golden Gate, but nothing, we don't have a 4 lane. Now, to be fair, I don't use 4 lane highways in my cities hardly anywhere at all, just because I figure if it's worth doing 4 lane, it's probably worth doing, you know, 3 lane and double lane and 6 lane for future development. And since there's no real penalty for using larger lanes, I don't. So we have that going for us. Um, so what makes this so unique, though, is the train aspect of it. This is something that we don't have. Now, you may know already, and if you don't, I'll show you. You can in some circumstances. It's harder to do with smaller roads, so I'm going to use an example over here with a large 8 lane divider road. It's one of the easiest to do it on. Is as it stands, you can set down a road. I don't know. My new graphics card has added this like little fuzzy transition effect. It's a little annoying. So you can, as things stand, go ahead and run rail or tram tracks or whatever and do it in an elevated way. They even give you an elevated train station somewhere over here. Was it elevated train or elevated subway? Thought we had an elevated train station. Okay, we have an elevated subway station. That does the same thing. So again, we'll just demonstrate this really quick and then we're out of here. When they work, and this is why I don't use them because they very rarely work. They're one of the buggiest assets in the game. And it's not so much that the asset itself is buggy, it's that the nodes get buggy. So suddenly, you've got an asset running over top, and then if you want to connect a road sideways, you can't, or sometimes it locks it in, and just it becomes immensely difficult. So we already have the functionality of running over roads and stuff. But this is the first time we've got a situation where we've got a default asset that is built in like this. So let's go back to our train. Now, the good news is you can run your train line out from straight underneath that. The bad news is, unless I'm doing this wrong, I can't figure out how to take our 4 lane and have it follow over top of our line coming out. So the only way to me that I can see, and in my defense, I haven't played with this a lot, maybe I'm just dumb, is to curve on and curve off. So you can have either the highway coming on a curve and the bridge coming in straight. Or, well, that's not straight, is it? Is that straight? Is that 180? That's not 180. Let me double check. Maybe again, maybe I am dumb. I have been dumb about many things in my life. I will continue to be dumb about many things in my life because I am human. So we're just going to stretch this out, relatively flattish. 2 lane. Yeah, it's just, it doesn't want to go over top of it. It's just not its jam. But it can curve off. So you can curve off, have your highway come in at a curve. Or, and I really recommend putting your rail down first. Have your rail come in straight. Or, your rail come in at a curve. And then let your highway come in straight. I suspect that if you were approaching a hill or a mountainside, you might be able to run your train line into the mountainside and your highway over top of it. I don't know. I haven't played with it. But this does make for some interesting configurations that I can see popping up throughout your city. Mostly, though, I just like the look of the bridge. So I find some places to use this in other builds. In this one, I don't really have a lot of reason to. So I just I don't know. I like it, but I don't have an urgent use for it. I'm much more likely to use that new train bridge we got. All right, so deleting all of this and coming around. Now, the next thing that we got, we did finally get some keys. Quays, keys, however you want to pronounce it. I'm terrible with words, so we'll find out. So, they put these in weird spots, if you ask me. So, our that is a weird graphical glitch. All right, so the first one I'm going to play with is the medium key with two-way road. And this can go in one of two places. It can go on the ground, and as a bonus, if you look under here, we got a new thing, snap to shoreline right here, which will automatically snap it to the height of the shoreline for whatever shoreline spot you picked. And just look how easy this is to place. We're not getting any more fussing of this is in water, this is, whatever. And it does create the key wall all the way around on one side. And as a bonus, it even cuts through water and serves as a bridge without arguments. So we get that on both sides. Now, I don't know if this will create a dam. I've always been wary of anything that doesn't allow water flow through it, so keep that in mind. Don't flood yourself out. But look how fast and easy that made getting a key wall up here. As a bonus, you can do stuff to these. If you have your road tools unlocked, road services, you can add trees, which under their stupid menu, cannot add lights, but you can add, oh, let's get trees off. Can add the wider sidewalks, and it's hard to tell when, so, sorry. Do I have wider sidewalks on or off? Yeah, it's just hard to tell on wider sidewalks unless I'm completely blind. No, we added grass on one side. One side it is. Sorry, it's dark and the game doesn't like me playing when it's dark. All right. Um, and I really generally like this. You notice that it did allow zoning on one side. And this is a big difference from when we used to play around with walls like this and we, fighting water and, oh, am I going to get zoning on two sides? Am I going to have concrete on two sides? No, you don't have that now. Now, the downside is that these are roads. These are not walk paths. So you will have cars going down them. And that may be a deal breaker for some of you. You may just be like, well, maybe it's not worth me having cars going down them. And hey, if that's you, listen, more power to you, I respect. But at least you can put trees on them now, which is something we can't do with the pedestrian wide roads. We cannot do that. So, again, to me, this is an improvement. Now, the other way that makes this an improvement is that if you have a 10-kilometer difference between point A and point B, so, and the best way to do that is to snip on your topography tools, and then a little hard to see in the dark, but a little hard to see without that. All right, follow my blue dot. As we approach right here, there is a darker line. This darker line right here represents a 10-kilometer difference between it and the next dark line, which would be right about in here. So we can set up our key walls to follow that. And it will give us zoning, but zoning on one side and create a backdrop. Now, this is great because when you're dealing with a lot of hilly territory, having this ability to build in automatic key walls up around hills is amazing. You will see this all the time in places like Morgantown, some good stretches of Parkersburg around Grand Central. Well, They should have them in Grand Central. They just tore down a bunch of trees. Um, Parkersburg's not the best use. But Morgantown and a lot of other hilly cities. Because now, look at this. Now you've got housing that you can install up here, and then, a roadway that's for, keeping the hillside up and for drainage purposes and all this. And it's just a fantastic addition to the city. So this I love. I love the idea that I'll be able to develop hilly areas a lot easier and a lot better. Now, let's talk about the pedestrian version. And this is so weird. They put the pedestrian version under pathways. So we get the same thing, only this time it's a different type of concrete. And you can see here we didn't have that height difference that we needed. But we've got this different type of concrete. And what's happening here is that we've got one height difference meeting another, meeting a slope. That's fine. So these will be your pedestrian walkways. This is variant 1, and that's it. Is that it? No, that's variant 1, and here is variant 2. Let me find another chunk of unused mountaintop. Looking for unused mountaintop over here. Okay. So basically, it's just a difference in type of concrete. And I'm okay with that. I like these ribs. It's weird how it's making it dip into the ground, but this is probably because of the fact that I'm building it on a hillside. Um, if I wanted to, I'm certain that I could. I'm going to very gently do this. Huh. Smooth that out to the bottom of that and flatten that down a little bit. So it's one of these things that's going to take a little bit of tweaking and some playing around to get used to. But I drive past this type of stuff so much that it's not even funny. Like, I cannot begin to express how many different highways I go past that have that style of roadway around them, serving as both a barrier and as a just general, um, driving path and walking path around the edge of a highway. So we come down here to something like this. Back to pathways. Now, note, can't build on these. These are strictly for pedestrian access. If you want to build on them, they have to be by way of um, the two-way roads. So it's a hit and miss. So just keep that in mind. And this is something that's going to take a little bit getting used to because you notice even here I sort of cut into the ground a little bit. So it's not all perfect, but it's a decided improvement. Now, let's move on to the last thing that they introduced to this patch that is really nice. Meet the Leisure Piers. Wow, feel like my name quit just being Josh for a second and started being Larry. And if you get that, you are as old as I am. Did you take your ibuprofen this morning? Did you? Did you remember? Are you remembering to drink water? Caffeine and coffee are not water. All right, so let's take a look at these. And I'm going to come over to a place where I already developed a few. Now, these I made with pedestrian paths, basic pedestrian paths, and pedestrian bridges. At the time, I just showed them off as a option. Now, I do want to note we're going to run into a glitch when I do this first because these are the old style things, and these do have, guardrails against them. So anybody walking onto these has been climbing over a guardrail this entire time. But they likely haven't been crawling out on them because there's no real purpose for them. Well, can't have that, can't we? So let's take this little corner right over here at Linden Street. We're going to go into our roads, medium quay, and I'm doing it this way. Now, we can have this snap to shoreline, but it's going to adjust the shoreline, and that's not going to help us out any. So I'm taking all of snapping off. And this just got turned into a 2-lane road. This is going to make me kind of unhappy. I don't want to have traffic going through here. But I took this off because what I want to install next are our leisure piers. So let's take a look at these. Now, you will have to play around a little bit with the height. You notice that's going, got a -4-degree downslope into the river. Let's try to keep that as minimal as possible. And now we have a pier. That's simple. Now, even better, this counts as a park. People will come here. People will hang out on this. People will do stuff. You cannot place props on it, but your Sims will be walking down here. They will be coming through here, and they will be hanging out on the pier. This beats this. These are dead. These are just props for effective points and purposes. But this is now a park. And you can see why I didn't like this, because now we've got road traffic coming through on a walking path, but it's whatever. Um, I'll upgrade it later, I guess. A lot of road traffic. Lame. But there we go. Sorry, got distracted by annoying stuff. And you can link additional piers off of these. And they don't have to be straight lines. You can curve them out. Not sure why you would do something like this, but this is something that you can do. Maybe you've got a water feature. Maybe you've got a rock in an island somewhere. I don't know. Um, and so yeah, these are really nice. I like these. These will be nice little additions to, some of the boardwalks in the city or whatever. So, but let me show you the other problem. The one problem I have with these is that when you use these on an existing key wall you may have made, like, all right, so this key wall should be okay because there's no edge to this. We've just been allowing our Sims to walk off into the water, um, as the horrible mares we are. First of all, this one says that that is too steep. It's not even going to let me. Ah, huh. It's not even letting me connect to that one. That's weird. Okay, so found at least one bug. So let's try coming over here to our other harbor because I know we laid out. There we go. So let's take a look right here and see if we can't get this to work. Working away this bugged. Okay, here's why I say it's bugged. We have a concrete wall here along this key wall. And even though this is, sloping down because I didn't adjust the height, but concrete wall, wall opening. Your Sims will pass through this, but it's going to be glitchy. Can you live with a visual error? Probably. Are you going to see it most of the time? Probably not. Will it pop up in your fancy cinematics if you're doing fancy cinematics like I should be doing? Probably. Will that make you feel bad? I don't know. I don't know you. Uh, it is what it is. So, all right. So let's just take a moment and see what we can do right over here, just as a little test. So I want the shallow rib pattern. I've got all snapping on. Just break those notes right there a little bit. Come over, grab our smoothing tool. Oh, that was level terrain, not smooth. Now we'll get our smoothing tool. And now we finally have a decent key wall right beside our lovely, lovely Ferris wheel. And looking over here, let's see if we can't replicate the same with a 2-lane. Go to 2-lane roads, medium key with 2-lane road, take off, upgrade. Just going to go right behind our park. And look at that. Now we have a... Actually, here, let's even do this better. Now you can see where it dug into the edges of the ground right here, but that's easily enough fixed with our soften terrain tool. We're using it at a brush size 20 just so we don't overdo this. Brush size 50 so we can actually get this done. Level terrain tool, just a hair. Then we'll upgrade that existing road. Oh, that was a keyword. Never mind. Now, for whatever reason, it looks, I'm not sure. I don't know. It didn't quite do what I thought it was going to do. But hey, look, we now have a little bit more of a defined. Now, looks a little less natural as a bay, but it's still really nice, I think. I think this is very nice. I think this is something that, I would like to walk down this, you know. Trying to be careful and respectful of those other buildings. Trying to get these nodes to connect if at all possible. So we are still getting some of those annoying little in-water errors. But honestly, I feel like that's just a glitch with, CS2 we sort of have to live with. So is it perfect? No. but is it something that you can make work in your city? And I think the very important answer to that is yeah. Yeah, this seems to work very well uh, for something right out of the box. You know, this is the kind of thing that normally if you've watched my channel, you've seen me take, half an hour, 45 minutes, sometimes to just do a single key wall. Um, Exciting channel, I know. But this gives you a new way to add a bunch of new flavor. I really wish these key walls included wide pedestrian streets with key wall built in. Because that's usually what I do. I don't usually do roadways. I use pedestrian paths, but that's just me. That may not be you. Again, I don't know you. Um, but overall, I like this. I like this. I think we can make this work. I think you can build in something like that, and then let's see. Back over here, what do we have anyways? This lovely park. Now we've got Lafayette Street running behind it. So wouldn't it be wonderful to first go over here to the city library or the Grand Dynasty Hotel, and then walk along the back of it, walk along the back of the harbor, and come over to this gorgeous community city park. Um, and then from there, come over and just take your date, walk out on one of the city's wonderful piers. You even have a couple of split piers for privacy. And then just finish your date at some place like this. I like I'm not saying dream date for me. Um, but in case my girlfriend watches, yeah, hey, dream date for me. Um, to me, it would be hard to go very wrong with something like this. About the only thing that could, to me, make this better, and I'm gonna look see if I can't add this in a second. So we got trees along that side. Let's go back to landscape, stay in landscaping. Let's grab concrete surface tool. Sneak it under the sidewalk to cover that little bit right there. Go. Then commercial. And then we're going to grab a handful of table sets. Under park. It's bigger than I thought it was. Uh, Anything else in our nature? No. So tell me, it wouldn't be wonderful, again, to have a date where you visit the Grand Dynasty Hotel, you go to the city library, you walk down Lafayette Street, you look at the beautiful pier, you swing over, you grab some ice cream and a Diet Coke right here. You go to the park, and then you finish your date by walking out onto one of these piers and just watching the sunset or sunrise. Hey, tell me this wouldn't be a wonderful date. Just tell me. And regardless, this is a way to add some bonus life to your city. And in this case, it's actually going to be life because your citizens will start walking through these. These are considered in network, which means they're attached to the pathing system, and your people will be walking through them, assuming they're not all dead. What can I say? My city population is getting to be almost 550,000. We have death waves. I have to live with it. They clear up before the sun sets. So, is what it is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Josh. Thank you so much for tuning into this special episode of Dead Men Streaming. Welcome back to Imini Bay. For many of you, welcome to a future version of Imini Bay, where you're seeing how the city has progressed over time and how some of the city has died off. But for those of you who are new to the channel, just popped in to see what changes were made with the new patch. I hope I've been able to show that off to you. Just flip off notifications. So we do have these lovely new quay walls, lovely new piers. We've got the couple of new and interesting bridges. Um, Again, I'm not super sold on the bridge. You know what? Here, let's try this. Look, I'm not super sold on the bridge, he says, as he finds a place for the bridge. Let's see. Let's not see. Distance too short, my fluffiness. Okay. Tell me that's not a massive improvement over the default train bridge. You can't, because it is. And I hope we get more bridges along that line elsewhere as well. Um, it's just a highway. All right. But regardless, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Josh. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I hope you had fun. I hope I was able to explain things clearly and concisely. And I hope you'll give me a like and follow, subscribe, because I love doing this kind of stuff, even if I get really tired of all the death care notifications. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you all again soon.